بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شلونكم طلاب طالبات؟ ان شاء الله زينين. اليوم عندنا المحاضرة اللي هي lectures 9 10 about designing and conducting scientific research work. So, general outline of study design. Here almost every researcher starts his or her research activity with a basic question. How can I carry out my research work? How can I do it? So, a researcher is expected to have a clear idea of the topic he selected for research, any topics, regarding medical topics, regarding maybe engineering topics and so on, and the justification for selection, why he chose this topic, and implication of the expected result and other important aspects before he thinks of methodology, what he expects the result is, and then he have to think about the methodology he need to carry out, he need to do his work. So to help answer such questions, we shall define the term research first, and then we will have a brief talk about the steps should be undertaken in carrying out any scientific research, and then discussion on the questionnaire construction is briefly given. So by definition, research is a systematic process to solve a problem. So we have a problem, and the research is a systematic work to solve that problem. It is either aimed at adding a new knowledge to the basic knowledge, so we call it the basic research, or aim to identify means to apply knowledge, to apply work, and this is called applied research. Here we have a recent concept about, we call it the research and development, in which implies a continuous process of a problem identification. Always there is a problem in anywhere of work or scientific work and so on. This continuous process of a problem identification need to be analyzed, and we have to put a formulation of a proposed solution if there is any solution to that problem, and then implementation, applicable or not, this solution is applicable or not. So steps of research, we have step 1, starting point is perception and definition of a problem. What's the problem? Is it real problem? And what's the size of that problem? Where it is? And the researcher have to decide a problem does exist and a research is needed. So probably we have a death in the neonatal care unit. This is a problem, and we need research to identify the cause behind this increasing death number. And number 2, the research is feasible and be conducted. It's easy, can be conducted, can be done, and the result of research help in the solution of the problem. So we might find a problem for this death and mortality in the neonatal unit. Example of the problems like high incidence of post-operative complications, or high rate of defaulters from treatment among patients with TB, or a low use rate of perinatal care by pregnant women, or high rate of shift from one treatment to another, and so on. These are examples of a problem which needs to be solved. So step 2, after first step is presence of a problem which needs to be solved. Step 2, a statement of general purpose. What's the purpose? Why we have to apply this study? This is a broad statement explaining the main purpose of the study. It must be powerful. So what's the purpose of our study? There is a problem, and our purpose is to decrease maybe the morbidity rate or the complication after post-operative complication, or the defaulter from medications, or decrease incidence of anemia among pregnancy. So this is the purpose. So writing effective purpose statement. A purpose statement is a declarative sentence which summarize the specific topics and goals of the study. Should be effective. To be effective, the statement of purpose should be specific and precise. It is not general and not broad or obscure. Should be specific and precise. Concise and mean only 1 or 2 sentences. Very short. Clear, not vague, ambiguous or confusing. Shouldn't be ambiguous or confusing. Not vague. Always it should be clear. The goal-oriented, stated in terms of desired outcome. Some common introductory phrases for purpose statements include, this is an example for the introductory phrases of purpose. The purpose of this paper or letter or document is to, or in this paper I will describe or I will explain or I will review, etc. The and the problem. My reason for writing is to, this is another example, or this study will discuss the, and we have to complete our subject. Step 3, gaining more knowledge about a problem. At this stage, the researcher tries to gain as much as relevant knowledge as possible about the problem under study. And this will help the researcher to understand different methods used so that he can use a non-modified method or a modified method or a new method designed by him. And he can also be able to identify the finding of other research, and he can make additional contribution to the knowledge rather than repeating the work of others. So we have to read more and more about that problem and more research, and to have our new method maybe, or a non-method or a modified method, and we have to add information to the knowledge rather than repeat other studies. So 2 main sources are either the literatures, reports, books and so on, or experts, the human experts. A researcher should not hesitate to ask any question related to his work or undermine the importance of exploring the views of other work or other researcher and expert. Step 4, choice and formulation of the study topics or the title and the statement of a specific object. So we have to put a title for your object. The title should be kept simple, brief and attractive. It provides a precise summary of the study content. It includes a summary, should be simple, brief and attractive. Use active verbs instead of complex noun-based phrases and avoid unnecessary details. A good title of research paper typically around 10 to 12 words long. A lengthy title may seem unfocused and take the reader's attention away from the important points. So we have an example for a good title: cigarette smoke and adverse health effect, an overview of research trend and future needs. This is only 14 words. Choice of research topics. We have to select a topic that is underexplored rather than excessively researched. So as you see now, COVID-19 is a new subject and it is not researched previously, or at least few research till now. So it is a new subject and a new topics. It is underexplored. B. Select a topic for which unexpected or conflicting or controversial evidence is available. Many ideas about certain subjects. Either the result of a research is unexpected or there is controversy about the result. This is a good search and good search topic to start with. Justify selection of topics that confront stereotype rather than seek to confirm them. We have already studies that are implemented earlier. No need to add another study to confirm these studies. Select a topic that is considered important from policy making and scientific or intellectual point of view. So the important subject, whether it is regarding important for policy making, for administrative of the hospital, or scientific or intellectual point of view. So we have to select this topic. Select a topic that is fundable, that we can't pay for its continuation, and select a topic with which you or your institution are competent and skillful. In reference to the problem mentioned, a title may take the form of the following. This is example: a study on extent and causes of post-operative complications in surgical ward is an example. Another example is a study of the characteristic of defaulter among TB patients on DOTS, or a study on reasons for defaulting among TB patients on DOTS, or maybe a study of determinants of low utilization rate of prenatal care, a household-based study. These are examples of a study of importance. We note the aim. What's the aim? The aim is what you hope to achieve from this study, and specified what need to be studied. So what hope to achieve and what need to be studied is the aim. The aim, they are the statement of intent, content, and there is the content, and usually written in broad term. So it is not specific, it is broad, setting out what you hope to achieve at the end of the project. What's your aim? What you want to achieve? This is the aim. What about the objective? Research objective comprise a number of steps that address how research aim will be achieved. So objective is how will reach the objective aim. It divides the research aim into several parts and address each part separately. They need to be stated clearly without any ambiguity. It is very clear, written in such a way to translate a general purpose of the study, and written in quantitative, which means a measurable term. So it is clear and it is obvious and can translate the general purpose of a study, and it is measurable. An objective of this sort, to study infant mortality rate in Pisan, or to study post-operative complication in surgical ward. It is very vague because it is not clear enough what the researcher is intended to measure. He may need to estimate the infant mortality rate or the causes, and it could mean the study of risk factor or the distribution of subgroups in population. So it is not clear and not quantitative. A specific subjective could be phrased as to estimate the infant mortality rate in Pisan in the year 2019, or to estimate the incidence of post-operative wound infection in surgical ward in relation to the use of medical waste treatment. So we can note here there is the statement in each example simplify the place, the time, and the parameter to be measured. So it is specific objective, it is not broad objective. Step 5, we have the methodology. In methodology we have the following: study population and the type of the study, sampling and sample size, determination and definition of variables, the tools of the study, the procedures, the training, and quality control. As we said, methodology, the researcher has to be very clear about the following points. First of all, the study population. This is the universe on which the study is expected to be carried out. And the study population might consist of population inhabiting a village or a town or a country, or all university students, or records and hospital patient operated on during a specified period of time, and so on. So this is the study population included in the methodology. And the second is the type of study, whether it is descriptive, it is a cross-sectional, longitudinal, analytic, case control, cohort, or interventional, which means experimental. So number 1 in methodology is the study population. Number 2 is type of the study. Number 3 is sampling and the sample size. In many cases, research cannot, and actually he need not to examine all the population in which he is interested. Instead, a sample may be drawn, the size of which is determined by certain statistical method and limited economically. Sampling saving money, time and work, and probably they ensure higher overall level of accuracy than a full coverage of the whole population. Also, an important issue is to draw the sample in such a way to be representative of the universe from which it is drawn. Representative sample is a precondition for generalization of result from a sample to the universe, the general population. Okay, and in most descriptive non-hypothesis testing studies, the sample size is mainly determined by economic and logistic factor rather than by complicated statistical equation. So we have to take a sample from the universe, from the population under study, and it must be representative, and we can take the sample easily. It is saving money, time and work, and also, as we said, we have certain statistical method to take this sample to be more accurate. Number 4 of the steps is determination and definition of variables. Included in the study among the very important variable here are the exposure risk, the risk factors, and the outcome. So we have to define the variables. What are the variables? Maybe the characteristic of the people included in the study, or maybe their exposure to risk factor and the outcome. These are the commonest variables. Number 5 is the tool of the study. The questionnaire, the test, the examination, and other method used must be decided upon and validated before implementation in the proper main study. So we have to check the questionnaire, the test applied, and the examination used for this method, or for this research. And the procedure here, including either direct interviewing or recording, coding, and checking of the data, and so on. And we need also to check training for those who are expected to obtain the data to ensure accuracy, consistency, and uniformity of a procedure and recording. And lastly, the quality control during data collection, data checking, and data processing. Now, what about the 6th step? We have to apply the pilot study, which is a short study and pre-test of the questionnaire. This is a small-scale study carried out on a small number of individuals under conditions similar to those of the final study. The size of the pilot study is a matter of convenience, time, and money. Why we do this pilot study? The purpose is to have an idea about the time required in the study as a whole, and the cost, and the skill required by the investigator, whether the instructions given to them are efficient and adequate or not, the adequacy of the questionnaire, the case of handling, the efficiency of its layout, and the clarity of the definition, and the adequacy of the question themselves, any problem with the questionnaire content. And lastly, the extent of non-response, refusal, and non-contact. So this pilot study gives us an idea about the research, if there is any deficiency in the research questionnaire or in the training or anything else relying, or it is maybe costly if it is done, and maybe time consuming. So this pilot study is a short study giving an idea about all of these factors we said. So step 7, in the light of the pilot study result, the final and the proper study is conducted to collect the required data. Continuous monitoring and checking is essential. So step 7 is continuous monitoring, continuous checking. Step 8, the data analysis is carried out either manually by pocket calculator or computer. by certain program, we called it the SPSS and others. The medium of analysis decided by size. So the analysis way is decided by the size, and the program used for analysis decided by the size of the study population and the type of the study, and require details and sophistication analysis. So we choose a type of analysis depending on the size and the type of the study. The results are displayed in the form of table and diagram. The results are generally presented in 3 groups table. So we are talking about the distribution of participants. The general characteristic of the study sample mean, we took about maybe we have 300, 400 person in a study. The general characteristic including the age, the sex, the occupation, and maybe education level, and so on. This is the characteristic of the study sample. Distribution of risk factor and outcome, whether they are exposed to risk factor or not, and what happened, the outcome. And the relationship of risk factor and the outcome. Is it a causal for this outcome? Maybe obesity lead to diabetes, high cholesterol leading to hypertension. So if there is any relationship or not, we have to confirm. In all these results, the necessary statistical tests and epidemiological indicator are calculated. Multiple regression analysis may be used. Step 9 is the writing of an article or report or dissertation or a thesis. So thank you very much.